Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name's Holly with the Nestle Valley Farmhouse, and today I am taking you along. We are going to be doing another Homemaking with the Seasons video. We're going to be pruning our fruit trees today, and I wanted to talk about a couple things too. Number one, flexibility is very important to have in your homemaking journey, and also we're going to talk about seasonal eating and kind of how the menu will kind of morph and change throughout the seasons, because I'm trying to get better about being more of a seasonal eater, making sure that we find and eat things in season. So without further ado, I do want to start with, so today basically is going to be a nice day. Like this whole week is going to be a nice week. It's so funny because we have like this beautiful week of like 70-degree weather. It got up into the 60s today, so it wasn't quite 70s yet. But then like the following week, it's going to be pouring rain and 50s again, which is pretty typical spring weather. But all that to say, so I am not an expert in gardening or anything. A lot of this is it is our first time really having a garden and stuff. But one thing that I was told many years ago about having like fruit trees is that you, especially apple trees, in order to get them to produce anything, you pretty much have to prune them every year. So last year was the first year that I actually pruned them. I actually pruned them a little bit later in the season than I mean, I don't know when you're supposed to prune them. I've been told winter. I've been told, the one that I've been told, I guess I follow, is you want to try to prune them right before they start to bud and bloom in the spring. So that is what we are doing today. So all that kind of being said, one of my biggest tips that I feel like has really helped me, and it's kind of hard because homemaking, you can have your beautiful routines, you can have your beautiful like setups, your flows for the day. But one thing that I've learned, if I've learned anything, is that you also need to learn to be flexible. And what I mean by that is this week is the weather is going to be nice. So I had to pick, today's Tuesday, and it's normally in general a day that I do a lot of work anyway. I have laundry today. I clean kind of most of the downstairs today. I do the downstairs bathrooms today. But I'm like, today is the nicest day and it is time for me to prune the trees. So I have to add that in. And that, I don't know how long it ended up taking me, but it's like also a mental thing for me too, because I'm like I'm not experienced to this. And when all this stuff that I do with like pruning the trees is just kind of my own personal, like what I figured out on my own. I'm no expert, but I really feel like having to be flexible in the way of understanding and knowing that you're going to, some days are not going to work out necessarily the way they are. And that's why I like only doing like a few tasks. Like I said, Tuesday's kind of a heavy chore day for me, but I try to keep most of my daily tasks to about 3 major tasks a day, because you want to use kind of some of that margin, which is what I'm going to be using today to prune the fruit trees. So the weather was amazing. And so of course I'm trying to get kind of the downstairs put together. I didn't do everything that I was planning on doing, but I wanted to do like the major things, like obviously the table, dishes. I started some laundry, and then I think I did vacuum the living room. That was like kind of it, but I didn't do a whole, like I didn't normally do my whole routine. I did clean the bathrooms, but you just didn't see that. I didn't film it, but I really feel like it's nice building in that margin because it allows you to be flexible on days like today. Because the weather was so nice and we're right at that kind of shoulder season where like the cherry blossoms are starting to blossom, but like the apple blossoms weren't yet. And so I wanted to get the trees pruned as soon as possible. Because like I said, I'm still trying to figure out like the whole thing. So I'm just doing a quick tidy and vacuum. I think I just vacuumed. I don't know that I vacuumed my bedroom, but a lot of times too, I feel like normally the things that I don't get done on that day, I can kind of push them to the next day because, you know, I'm busy. I got a lot going on. And like I said, I'm finally feeling like I'm back to a good routine after we were like sick for 2 weeks and all that stuff. So here I am debating on whether or not I should go out and prune those trees, but I'm not really in the mood to, but I know that it needs to get done. So I had a cup of coffee this morning, kind of trying to wake me up and get myself a little bit more energy. So I'm just using some basic little pruning shears. They aren't anything fancy. And then these gloves are my husband's. They're like, he gets them from work. And so I use them to protect my hands while I'm out there pruning because there's pokies. We have blackberries, and of course the apple trees aren't necessarily pokey, but you never know. So on to prune the trees. So the weather was absolutely amazing. Our ducks were in our backyard. So, and I'm excited. So all the pellets and stuff, we did clean those up last weekend. I'm super excited about that. So they're finally all put away. And so here's our little orchard. And as you can see, the buds are just starting on the apple trees. So I think that now would be a good time to prune. I'll be honest, I've watched videos on pruning. It's gonna sound funny, but like half the videos I literally lose interest because they want to sit there and give you like a 10-minute explanation of the tree. And I find it I'm like, just show me how to prune. Like, what am I supposed to cut? And it's funny because I talked to some family members too that have had apple trees. I'm like, what do you do? They're like, I don't know. I just cut stuff off. So then I just kind of decided to follow that and try to figure out what they mean. So what I kind of did, so I actually started, I was going to take off this big branch, but then when I looked at the end of it, there were still blossoms on it. So long story short, we had a tent thing in the back so that the pellets were set up because when the goat had her babies last year, we had to separate her out and kind of give her own little area for the babies. And so we had a tent in there, and like it always, like one of those 4 posters with a little canopy on it. It of course blew over and flippin' broke, and it broke our apple branch. And I was really sad because this apple tree gave us the most apples last year. Now they were small apples, probably the size of like bigger than golf balls, but not quite baseball size, if you know what I mean. But they were still tasty and we still ate them all and they were delicious. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to cut off basically a lot of the like little bits of growth. Like I said, I don't really feel like the people around me really are experts in it, and the kids wanted to help out, so I did my best. And you could tell after a while I ended up putting a show on them inside the house so that they can just play, because they were out there and they didn't really want to be out there, and it was cold and they were getting fussy, so I had to go take them inside and put something on to entertain them. And so yeah, so I'm basically just clipping off like as much of the little pieces as I can find, basically. So I actually pruned these a little bit more. We have 3 apple trees, a cherry tree, an apricot tree, and a plum tree. So last year, the problem is our cherries, generally the birds get to them before we do. I've tried to stay on top of them, but like I said, those birds literally, like the second they become even close to ripe, they eat them, and we just don't have bird netting. So at this point, I'm probably not gonna get any cherries. But last year, one tree produced like a ton of apples. One produced like a few, and then one didn't really produce many apples at all. And I think, if I remember correctly, the one that didn't produce many apples, I think I didn't prune it very much. So I'm trying to prune a little bit more this year. Like, basically my understanding is you want to kind of leave like the bigger branches, and also you'll get these like branches at the very, very bottom. You want to cut those off because you want all the energy to go in like the strong branches that can basically handle the apples. So, and I did kind of do like, well, I'd cut one off and I'd leave one on of like the kind of longer branches. So like I said, it's all kind of guesswork for me. I'm doing the best I can. I don't really I'm not an expert, but I'm just trying to obviously do this so that my fruit will hopefully my tree will hopefully produce more this year. So I want to talk a little bit about, basically I am shifting kind of the menu because we're getting into April now. This was of course still in March that I'm filming this, but I just really am trying to kind of learn more about like seasonal eating. And one of the things that, like of course pruning the trees, and it seems like end of spring is kind of a hard time because there's not necessarily stuff, like you're still eating a lot of like your canned stuff from the winter. We still have a few canned peaches over, which reminds me, I'm gonna go eat some after this video because I really want some. And just kind of having, I'm just trying to have like a game plan for what we're gonna do next year. So this is our apricot tree. As you can see, our dogs actually got into there and chewed. So that was the main tree and chewed all the way down to nubbin. So this is actually like a sprout that came up from the main tree. And my husband was so upset because he loves apricots. This is our cherry tree. And as you can see, like the blossoms there's like a ton of cherry blossoms on it. I'm sure they'll be blooming any day now. And then, and so I did prune these a little bit, but like I said, I don't really know how to prune them. I'm trying to understand it, but this is our plum tree. And as you can see, the blossoms are starting there too. So, so basically I'm trying to kind of figure out like, what does eating seasonally mean? And I also, this is kind of, there's a stream back there, but look how overgrown it is. It's kind of hard to see, which I'm kind of bummed about, but I guess you can kind of see it right there. So this is it's actually a seasonal stream. It really only shows up, it like goes away in like the end of July, August when it gets really warm. Gosh, it was so beautiful out. I was just out there just enjoying the sunshine. It was like one of the first nice days. And so it was just so nice. I joke that I felt like a bear coming out of hibernation because I was like, I want to be outside. So I was able to at least get this one load of my kids' laundry folded. And so I'm trying to figure out what, like, kind of eating with the seasons. I do, as we kind of get into April, May, June, I'm going to switch from our soup night on Thursdays to maybe do more of like a salad night, because as we kind of get out, it's normally like soups become like, the kids just don't seem to like them as much. So I probably won't be making as much broth, or if I am making broth, I'll probably freeze it and save it for like the beginning of fall whenever I haven't really made like need broth. But I'm getting to the point, guys, where I like almost want to just like drink the broth like from like a cup and just like drink it because it's so good. Like I crave it. It's so funny. So we're kind of moving into more like vegetables are going to start growing. And so you can start getting access to some fresh vegetables. I've noticed that like grapes are in season right now and they're really tasty. So one of my favorite treats is to take the grapes off the stems and freeze them. And they taste like candy to me. And of course my kids love them. I was so bummed. I made like 3 baggies of like maybe a half a cup to a cup of grapes. And my kids literally found them and devoured them. And I was so sad. So now I have to find them. I have to freeze them, but I have to hide them so that I can sneak some after the kids go to bed, because we're a big grape family. But yeah, I've kind of been enjoying like learning about how to like shift my menu around the different things that we do and the different foods that we eat during this time of year. Like I said, broccoli is in season because it's generally like an early spring crop, and then like lettuces will start to grow. So I'm trying to find ways to incorporate those fresh vegetables. I'm still getting a lot of stuff from my, obviously my stockpile. And another thing that I buy a lot too is I do buy a lot of frozen vegetables. They're a lot cheaper than the fresh, and they last longer, and they work really well for like pretty much anything. Like if you have a fried rice, I throw mixed vegetables in. If you have a soup, I throw mixed vegetables in. I even just like steam them, and then you can serve them with your, roast and potatoes or baked chicken and potatoes, and it works out really well. So today was milk run day, so I had to grab a couple gallons of milk and then just putting away all of the groceries. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that you guys are enjoying your spring. I am so worn out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.